hello. I hope y'all are doing just fine, and I hope that I am audible. So, in today's video, I'm going to be looking deeper into the God virus. I'm going to be looking deeper into the characteristics of the God virus, and then I will also be looking at how this God virus survives and dominates over time. So in my previous video, where I talked about the characteristics of the God virus, and if you are new and you have not watched any of those videos, the reason why I call it the God virus is because I am using the concept of the psychologist called Darrell W. Ray. He has written the book called The God Virus and How Religion Affects Our Daily Lives, I think. And in this book, he talks about how religion is similar to a virus that attacks or infects the human mind and takes over certain functions of the person that it infects. So some of the characteristics that we mentioned were infection, creating defenses, taking over certain mental and physical functions, and then replication, that is spreading itself to different other people. So today I want us to talk about the religious immunity. This is the antibodies that the virus creates so that it can protect itself. And one thing you have to understand is that religion creates a series of defenses within a host to prevent him from seriously considering any other forms of religion. Just like I said in my previous video, it is very difficult for you to find a Christian looking into Islam, or a Muslim looking into Christianity, or an Hindu looking into Christianity or Islam, vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Like, it creates antibodies so strong that it prevents the hosts, now the hosts being us, from looking into other religions, from researching other religions. That is why you rarely find a Christian reading the Quran, a Muslim reading the Bible, because the God virus has built a wall so formidable that many people cannot conceive of any other religion, let alone understand it. So what it does is that it disables critical thinking that is necessary for the God virus. Just like I said in my previous videos, that it blocks away. Hi to you too, Lua Carlos. Hi everybody. Hi, and thank you for joining in. Hi. So like I'm saying, so that the religions, hi and welcome to the Moon Tribe. Hello and welcome to the Moon Tribe. So like I was saying, the God virus creates very strong antibodies that it prevents critical thinking within an individual. Hello to you too, Nathaniel. The next thing that the God virus does is that it has inhibitions and prohibitions. This is another way that it creates antibodies this is taking over certain mental and physical functions. My name is Nathaniel. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Hi. So inhibitions and prohibitions. Let us look at some of the things that religion prohibits us to do. Now this is the virus, the God virus, as Darrell W. Ray calls it, and he says that inhibitions such as sexual inhibitions, like making masturbation a sin, making you feel dirty for masturbating, which is a natural occurrence, something that happens naturally to human beings. Things like celibacy, where the priests and the nuns are supposed to be celibate throughout their lives, which does not make sense, because this is taking over physical functions, because as we all know that sex is very natural, and that it's just unnatural to just ask somebody not to have it. And this is what the god virus sometimes demands from us, that we do not perform normal functions, and it makes these normal functions feel dirty, like I am saying, masturbation. This is comes in forms of controlling our sexuality, for example, saying that homosexuality is wrong, lesbianism is wrong, same sex is not allowed, god does not like same sex. This is all a form of control by the god virus, a form of inhibition. Yeah, because one thing that I have come to learn as I read further in this book is that one of the ways that the god virus is able to survive for so long and propagate so fast is by controlling the biological function, that is reproduction. By controlling reproduction, by controlling us sexually, the god virus easily grows and replicates. Other inhibitions that it gives us is on something like foods, like for example in the Muslims, where they have do not eat pork. Some Christian denominations only eat meat on specific days. I think these are the SDAs, if I am not wrong. We have inhibitions such as fasting, where you're told that fasting is good. For example, right now we all know that and I'm saying this very respectfully. For example, right now where we have the Lent season, and we have the Ramadan, where it's fasting, 40 days of fasting. These are inhibitions that the god virus expects of us, and it is so important for this is a very important part of the virus control, because it keeps us, the believers, focused on our rituals and actions that reinforce the religion on a daily and even hourly basis. So it is very important to the virus that we practice these inhibitions, because by us practicing these inhibitions and prohibitions, such as the fasting, the no homosexuality, such as no masturbation, no marriage before sex, no adultery, all of these inhibitions that the religion has put for us, no pork. By following those inhibitions, we are put in a certain mental state. We're put in a certain mental state. And you have to understand one thing that you have to understand is that the virus, the god virus, does not do this because it cares about us. The god virus does not do this because it cares about us, or that it cares about our pleasure, or that it cares about our satisfaction. You have to understand the god virus is only concerned about one thing, and that is propagation. The god virus is only concerned about replication. The god virus is only concerned about how will I continue? How will I continue? It is all about keeping I don't know why this my knees keeps on falling. And the way I've tried to strengthen it, but whoop, nope. It just won't listen to me and wants to keep on falling. There it is again. Come on. What am I supposed to do? I don't want to show you people everything in the background. Okay, believe now it has stabilized kidogo. Now, yes, like I was saying, it is all about keeping the infected focused on their own religion and protect the unit of propagation of the family. Now, for example, as I've given those examples, and other examples such as Muslims, where they severely prohibit female freedoms and expand male power to control the female and the authority. Others are like Catholics require parents to raise their children as Catholics and prohibit extramarital sex. and like I said, the celibacy of priests and nuns. These are just some of the ways that these are some of the inhibitions. Now, something else that I mentioned in my previous video was the spread, how the virus, the God virus, spreads. And one of the things that I mentioned in my previous video was use of vectors. And vectors, for those who did biology, vectors are things like mosquito, like the Anopheles mosquito, where the Anopheles mosquito spreads malaria. Now, so vector, when I talk about the vector, I talk about, goodness gracious, when I talk about a vector, I talk about such people that are used to spread the God virus. Vectors such as priests, vectors such as bishops, vectors such as nuns, Sunday school teachers, all these are vectors, reverends, all these are vectors that are used to spread the God virus. And you have to understand that religious, like I said in my previous videos, that it takes a lot of time to train these vectors, and it takes a lot of energy and a lot of engineering for them to be effective carriers of the virus. And sometimes the engineering and the programming may take years of study in a seminary and learning massive amounts of far-fetched ideas. What I'm trying to say is that they really take time in training the vectors of how they're spreading the disease. And one of the best techniques is how they teach the vectors to use emotions. Oh, come on now, come on now. Just after we have stabilized. Ah, please. It won't just let me just be. Like, I'm trying not to just show you everything on my background. It's just insisting. Okay. So they have to learn how to emotionally open up the hosts. Don't forget this, we are the hosts in this case. They have to learn how to emotionally open us up so that we can be able to be effectively infected by the God virus. And one thing you have to understand is that vectors are so expensive. Vectors are so expensive for the virus to produce. They are so expensive, and that is why they are so protected and supported, often to an extreme degree. And one thing you have to understand is that the Catholic priests are among the most expensive vectors of all. Now, when I read this statement, it hit me. This is the reason why the churches are so weak in protecting the priests and the ministers from all the scandals that they face. That is why you have even had scandals of the Catholic priests abusing little boys, pedophilia in the Catholic Church, but nothing happens to these priests. We have heard of sexual abuse in the churches. Nothing happens to these priests. If anything, for example, it's even worse in these independent churches, or what we call the new Pentecostal churches. These new upcoming churches where they're independent from anybody. Like, I am a pastor today, I feel like opening a church, I just go and open up a church next to my place. That is an independent church. I am not like, or there's no oversight, nobody comes to check on my church, like completely independent. So can you imagine what happens in those churches? And what you come to understand is that the church as a whole is not so much concerned the abuses that the vectors are accused of, that the priests, that the bishops are accused of. It is more concerned, or it is more concerned about protecting the vectors, the vectors, because they are so expensive to produce. That is why they are very highly protected. And you have to understand something else about vectors. Something interesting about vectors is that vectors can be more useful when they are dead. Can you believe that? Vectors such as Jesus, vectors such as Paul, Ali, Joseph Smith of the Mormons, those are vectors that are very useful, that became very useful after they died. So this is something that you have to understand. This is why churches will never ever punish priests and bishops for whatever they do. This is the reason why. Because as long as a vector can effectively feed the virus with money, hosts, and hosts, so long as the vector can efficiently feed the virus with money and hosts, the vector will generally remain. Because one thing you have to understand, the vectors, the virus's purpose. The purpose of the virus is not concerned about the people, it is all concerned about replicating itself, it is concerned with propagation, it is concerned with spreading, you know. Now, next, let us look at mutation. And honestly, guys, when I was reading this book, and this is a book I'd recommend to anybody who is on their path of deconstructing religion, reconstructing Christianity. Just go and read this book called The God Virus by psychologist Dr. Darrell W. Ray. This guy clearly illustrates so many things, because when I was reading this book, I was just like, oh my goodness, it makes so much sense. So many things that he speaks about in his book, they're like, they're things that happen on our face every single day, and they're like, he puts them so clearly. It's like, I don't know, the way he just compares religion to a virus. It's like, it's so true, because when you read about neuroscience, it's neuroscience, yes, you find out that human beings, we are, hello, hello, hi, Mako. I don't know how to pronounce your name, sorry, but hello, and welcome to the Moon Tribe. So one thing that you read when you read neuroscience is that you find out that we are like computers, human beings. And so Darrell just practically says that, oh, and as computers, we can sometimes get infected with things that we don't want, similar to computers. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not putting this analogy as best as I'm supposed to, but I believe you get what I'm saying. Similar to computers, we can get infected, and religion is a virus that takes over us. Now, I was talking about mutations. My goodness, it just won't behave. My ring light just won't behave. Hata sitaongea dakika mbili. Jamani. Sasa nini? Okay, surely sasa jamani. Sasa nini imetendeka? Surely. Yani tu hii ring light yangu tu yani. I'm so sorry. Yani guys. Just my ring light have just decided to disobey me. And so just have to fight kidogo. Okay, I think that is much better. So I was talking about mutations. One interesting thing that I came to learn is that religion mutates. And one of the questions that I asked myself so much is if God is one, like why do we need so many religions? If God is if God, we are all worshiping the same God, then why do we need Catholic, Protestants? Like, we are all Christians, but there are so many different sects. Yes, they are Muslims, but they are also sects. And something that I've come to realize, to understand after reading this book, is that religion mutates just like a virus. Anything for its survival, it will do anything for its survival. So religion mutates frequently, and you have to understand the mutations occur frequently, but none of them ever develop into new religions. This is an easy way to keep the main DNA of the movement close without losing it all together. Now, the first mutation that ever happened in the Catholic Church was when Martin Luther, yes, it is Martin Luther, when Martin Luther came up with the Reformation, the Protestants. He is the one who led to the formation of the Protestants, the breakaway of the Catholic Church. That was the first mutation of the Christian virus. Now, this virus has been mutating and breaking away into smaller sects. and it does not matter how many sects it breaks into, so long as it survives. And even when I was reading this book, and because previously, my goodness, my leg needs to stretch. In my previous in this current semester that I'm just done doing, we have been studying the church in Africa. We have been studying the church in Africa, and it has been so interesting to learn how the church has evolved and grown into Africa. And one thing that I came to realize, after reading this book, obviously, was the mutations that have happened. So basically, the Christian religion has allowed the Africans to incorporate African traditions into the Christian religion, just so that it can survive. Remember, there was a time, this is during colonization, during the missionary time, that Christianity looked down upon in all African traditions. Like, it did not understand African traditions. But come today, the Christianity allows Africans to incorporate their own practices. Why? Because Christianity saw that this was the only way for it to grow in Africa. This was the only way for it to spread and grow in Africa. Remember, I keep telling you that the only goal of the God virus is to spread, to replicate, to propagate. It does not care about the hosts. It does not care about the hosts. Its only agenda is to spread and to propagate, to grow. So this is why in Africa we have so many African incorporated churches. Because Christianity during the missionaries' time, so that the missionaries are not able to get to the Africans as well as they wanted to. And so the best way to do this was and when the first breakaway churches were formed, because there were also breakaway churches from the mission churches, the first breakaway churches, when they were formed, and the missionaries saw that these breakaway churches, like, they easily captured Africans, like they easily caught a bigger crowd. Then the missionaries allowed for Africans to start incorporating their own practices and traditions into the Christian religion. Now, this is an example of a mutation. I know I have gone so deep, but it's because that the more I read this book, and the more that I've been, like, the more I just see it, guys, the more I just see it. And this is why I recommend this book to everybody. So, something else that you have to understand is that when a population is isolated from any other religious and is largely uneducated, and it is very suspect to the right kind of mutation or a totally new God virus. For example, what happened to Africans when the Christian religion came to Africa. Yeah. Something else I talked about in my previous video was use of specific methods to spread the virus. And one efficient method that is used is something called revive us again. So this is a clear call by the infected. I love the way this guy puts his thoughts. A clear call by the infected that they need a booster shot. A clear call by the infected that they need a booster shot. So revivals are largely aimed at those who already have the virus, and it is an adaptive method to keep the local beliefs strong to prevent invasion from outsiders. Because remember, again, it's all about protecting. The virus is all about protecting itself. It is all about spreading itself. It is all about propagation. It is all about replication. So one thing that happens in these revivals is that there is use of a very charismatic leader or a very charismatic preacher to lead a very charismatic vector who will be able to lead the session. And this charismatic vector obviously has to be able to create a very a very emotionally, very emotionally, a very emotionally high kind of atmosphere, so that the so that he is able to like emotionally open up the host. That is why when you go to revivals, there's so much praise and worship. It's like when you go to, I have ever gone to a revival, and let me tell you, people, the whole the whole atmosphere just, it sucks you in. It just sucks you in. The whole atmosphere just sucks you in. I have been to the preacher is talking, he's maybe praying or something, there's music in the background, the way people sing, the way people shout, the way people just jubilate in the way that people just jubilate. There's just so much that happens. So there is a very emotional high that leads to more dedication to the God virus and more money to the church. And one thing that you also notice is that the main themes are usually sacrifice,